Hello everyone, present here virtually. I am Rutuja here and I welcome you all for today's session, which is titled as Importance of Communication Skill and Workplace. And presenting this session, we have with us our today's expert, Miss Malika Tiwari ma'am. Malika Tiwari is a passionate author, researcher, and professor at School of Management, Rafiq Ira Hill University. Analyst and marketing are her forte. She has a patent which is granted by Government of India. She has delivered talks at universities and institutes. She has presented research papers and international conferences of premier institutions. She is the recipient of the Global Women Inspiration Award. She firmly believes that learning is an internal process which has no end. Without wasting much time, you can start now, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I am Malika Tiwari and I will be speaking today on the topic the importance of communication skills for the employees for an organization because we are literally make the difference between confident, motivated employees and it builds thriving relationships between people. I hope I am audible. Can somebody please tell me?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Okay. In today's time, we talk about leaders and we talk about how leaders, actually set the tone for for their team and how leaders actually act as a voice for the team, they are responsible for. So if any leader who is supposed to influence his or her team members or the employees who report to him, it is very important that the leader must communicate effectively. And so today I'll be discussing about the importance of effective communication skills, which are required for the people who are, working in organizations, for the employees who are dealing with building relationships. So communication is a key to success, I would say. And there are several as per the life statistical records, so many futurists have already discussed on the importance of communication skills, especially in management and other streams as well. If the communication is done effectively, the outcome of effective communication is always uh, is always something which leads to thriving relationships. So that's the reason why communication holds a lot of importance and significance in today's times. Now, what communication is? Before we begin with effective communication, I would first like to pinpoint as to what communication is. So, um, for the viewers, those who are watching, my question is, what do you understand by communication? How do you define communication? Okay, so communication is, what is communication? That's what my question. Okay, so communication is expressing yourself in the best possible way that you can. It involves, it's a process which is two-way. Two-way as in that the other person, maybe let's take an example of the interviewer and the interviewee. For example, if there's an interview going on, so your panel becomes the person who is taking your interview, becomes the interviewer, and the person who is giving the interview becomes the interviewee. So in that case, it's very important to actually uh, express yourself for both actually, but this is how actually the communication process takes place between the interviewer and the interviewee. And there is an involvement of what? What is involved here? Involved here is questions from the end of the interviewer and answers from the end of the interviewee, and also effective listening. So these are the components which are important if I talk about communication as a process, because communication process not just involves, speaking, but it also involves your listening. So unless you listen, the process becomes incomplete. So in order to make the process of communication more effective, more efficient, more better, it's very important for the list. It's very important to actually include one more element, which is called active listening, or which we can also refer to as avid listening. That's why we say that, people who are good listeners may be avid communicators as well, because those are the people who listen to you carefully. Those are the people who are involved in the process of communication. So if we talk about communication, we cannot neglect the aspect of active listening as well, because that again makes the entire process of communication complete. So a good communicator is the one who can later be successful, a successful manager, a successful professional, or a successful employee of an organization. But having said that, one has to have good listening skills as well, because unless you listen, you would not be able to communicate. If I deal with a set of students in a classroom, I am teaching something. So the process of communication will only be fulfilled if my students listen to me, if my students comprehend what I'm teaching, and if my students are able to answer whatever I taught to them, right? So if the other person is not listening to me, the communication process becomes incomplete. So this was about communication. It is not only about expressing of ideas, exchanging information, but it is a huge it's a huge process, actually, a massive one, which involves the other attributes that I just mentioned as well. So, what is the need of effective communication in organization, and why are we today so focused on communication skills? Whenever the people, they are applying for different companies, for organizations, or actually planning to switch their jobs, or maybe planning to get placed, why is it always said that you should work on your communication skills, and why is it always emphasized that you must undergo some kind of grooming in order to enhance and mold yourselves and work on your personalities as well? Why is communication considered so important and pivotal at that point of time? It's because in today's time, times have actually evolved. Like we say, we are in rage in terms of technology. Similarly, I talk about rage in terms of communication as well, because most of the organizations that are hiring employees, they're looking for individuals who can actually communicate. So what is the reason behind this? The reason is simple. People want better communicators, because every organization, is thriving to flourish in the longer run, right? Wants to have and maintain a good rapport amongst themselves and, of course, their clients. So if I talk about client servicing, if I talk about business development, if I talk about, maintaining a rapport or building relationships, healthy relationships, like in management, we are very concerned and focused about, maintaining and creating that essence in terms of the consumers and the businesses. So it's very important to communicate first in order to build that better relationship. So unless you are a good cater, it becomes difficult for you to actually, it becomes difficult for you to actually be in the organization for a longer time. So you have to have good communication skills in order to build better relations, right? So, and if you have built better relations with your consumers, that way those consumers can actually retain. And retention is one of the most significant component. If I talk about any business, no business would want that their consumers should drift apart or drift away, right, to another, to towards another competitor or their threat organizations. So yes, in order to retain your consumers, you need to make sure that you know you need to make sure that your team is actually maintaining and building better relations with your clientele. So this is how communication actually plays a lot of an important role actually in not just your class for not just your only classroom teaching, but also in organizations during interviews. So it's important. It's all over. It has created an essence which is required everywhere, be it your top level management, your middle, or if you follow the hierarchical the sequence in organizations, it's required everywhere, right? Be it your negotiations that happen in organizations, so everywhere. So that's the reason why we call it uh, an essence of communication, the essence. Like for example, if like a brand creates its essence, right? So here again the brand is communicating, right? Without communication, creating essence is not actually possible, right? So that's how it creates an essence which is very very important um, in today's time, right? In today's time we know that uh, most of the people, if I talk in context to business, now let me take examples in context to business. I have discussed enough about in general what communication is. Now coming to the aspect of business and marketing, right, because most of the viewers are those who are from management, and even if you're not, then again, the information that I'll be conveying right now is related to you as well. So yeah, if I talk in context to business also, right. So what do businesses actually seek for? Right. They seek to create awareness of their products. They seek to create awareness of their services. Right. So if you are an XYZ organization, you would want your viewers, you would want your consumers, your disposers, your customers to actually know who you are and why do you exist. So how would they, how would you get to know, and what should they be doing in order to let you know about their services and products? So they would actually communicate. So unless they communicate, you as a viewer or a disposer or a customer or a consumer will not understand what are they about, right? So if you want them to understand who you are, you need to communicate for that matter. And how can you actually communicate? There are several options now in today's time. Most of the users, as per so many, as per the statistical, if I go on the numbers also, are 70 to 75% of the viewers are the active viewers, right? Who are engaged in, if I talk about the millennials or the Gen Zs who are engaged mostly on your social platforms, right? From where they get information. So you as a brand, if you're somebody who is, planning to communicate to their audience, you can choose these platforms to communicate, right? And how do you communicate? You can communicate through mediums, like you can use your social media, like I talked about, your Facebook, your Instagram, right? You can list your products there, you can featureize there, you can share a lot of benefits that your products carry or the services that you deal with. So everything that you're doing over these platforms again is a part of communication, nothing else but communication. This is how, even though it's a part of promotion, but again, what are you doing here? You're creating awareness, which again is a part of the process of communication, right? So it's very difficult in today's time that we can that we say that it's easy to go without communication. No, without communication, it's very difficult to actually flourish, right? It's very difficult to create an essence, right? It's very difficult that the other person will understand and comprehend what we are trying to deliver. So that's the reason why communication as a process becomes of utmost significance, right? So yeah, I was talking about a sense, right? So if you're an XYZ company and you're planning to create an essence which lasts longer, you need to build your repo, with your consumers, with your disposers, you need to communicate. Unless you communicate, people will not understand as to who you are. Now we see so many organizations these days, the new ones that have grabbed a good share in the market, right? uh, Even during the market, even during the pandemic, we happen to see that they were able to succeed because they were, through influencer marketing, and be it the micro influencers or the macro ones, right? They were able to communicate better through influencer marketing about their products. So influencer marketing, again, those people who were involved in endorsing their products or their services were actually through vlogs and through blogs, highlighted the benefits that their products actually carry, or something unique, or about some kind of value that their products and services possess, right? So again, this is a part of communication. This is how people get to know who you are. This is how you are able to create an essence of yours in the minds of the people, in the minds of the consumers, in the minds of an audience who is watching you, who is listening to you, who is reading about you through different platforms, which are called mediums, right? So we should never underestimate the value of good communication and good communication skills. Now, if I talk about your communication in general, communication skills are very important for people who are, you know, planning to work in different organizations. Let's say, for example, if there's somebody who wants to work in the field of marketing, right? So for somebody who is planning to become a marketing professional, you need to have good communication skills. You must have heard that it's told to you that you should work on your communication skills. You should enhance yourself. You should learn to because you are the one who would be interacting with your clients, right? If I talk about client servicing, so you have to be somebody who has to be not only persuasive, not only not just have that convincing attitude, but also have to be a good communicator, right? So that is how you would be able to describe the product better, right? You would be able to shed some light on the benefits that the product carry, and you would be able to deal better with your uh, customers as well, right? So if you are somebody who does not know how to communicate better, if you are somebody jo आधा अधूरी communication करते हैं, so I think incomplete communication doesn't serve the purpose here. It has to be complete, right? It has to be in such a way that your listeners or somebody who's interested in you is lured by you, right? So this is something which one has to keep in mind while communicating. And it's not that if you are someone who does not have good communication skills, there's no scope of improvement. No, there is scope of improvement. I repeat, there is scope of improvement. So how can you improve your skills so that you land up at a better workplace, or maybe you crack interview because of your communication skills and your knowledge as well? So you have to follow certain tips for that. And what could be the certain tips for that? It could be, you must indulge in, activities. You must indulge in something which requires you to read. So when you read, when you become an avid reader, that's when you can actually enhance your skills to read, and you can enhance your communication skills because you get to learn new things, you enhance your knowledge at the same time, and also you learn new words which becomes a part of the vocabulary. So you enhance not just your vocabulary, you also enhance your knowledge, and you become a better communicator when you read, right? So you must indulge yourself into, if you don't like to read, you can at least begin with a few pages. If you are a beginner, you can read 5 pages, or maybe 5 to 6, 7 pages. Then if you then you can ace up with 10 to 20 pages, or maybe later on you must you would be at a position wherein you start reading the entire book and finish it by the week's end. So this is how you have to develop this habit, or maybe get accustomed to reading, be it the newspaper or book or an article or a journal or something that can enhance your taste to begin with reading, right? So, and of course, you can, watch certain movies or maybe documentaries, through which you can learn something. You can communicate with your acquaintances. You can communicate with your, there are some people who are meek. There are some people who are hesitant. There are some people who are timid, who don't like to kind of interact. But in your professional space, if you are someone, because we are, the topic itself talks about workplace and organization. So even in your personal space, if you're somebody who is an introvert, that's absolutely normal. It's very natural, right? But in your professional space, you have to make sure that you are someone who, uh, at least for the sake of their professional career, you must know how to communicate, right? So, yes, to work on these things, you can at your home, you can practice how to communicate. Maybe you can have a dictionary, which is handy. Maybe you can have those applications installed in your, phones, which can help you gain knowledge, which can help you learn better words so that you can communicate. Because there are people who like to communicate, but yet, sometimes because of certain things can actually curb them, or kind of, create a hindrance because of which they don't like to communicate. Right. So you have to get out of this thing, and you have to, at your workplace, you must learn to communicate. Right. So if you are somebody who is of the temperament which is nervous, like people have this temperament, right? Which kind of temperament? It's called nervous temperament, wherein they get nervous while communicating. So this is something which you have to learn to eliminate. Fear is something, again, which acts as a hindrance. These are the attributes which you have to curb, which you have to avoid, which you have to eliminate. You do not have to inculcate these attributes. You have to rather eliminate them. And you can, if you're somebody who's of nervous temperament, you have to work on your, temperament, and you can do that at home as well, right? You can interact with your siblings, your acquaintances, and you can, even if you're wrong, you do not have to worry about being wrong, right? It is, people who are of nervous temperament, they are the ones who lack confidence, right? They are the ones who, kind of get fear. So you have to avoid it, right? Otherwise, you can mess up things. Even if you know certain thing, even if you have adequate knowledge, but still you can mess up things if you are somebody who is of nervous temperament. So in order to be a good communicator, a good speaker, a good orator, or a maybe good speaker, you must be a confident person firstly, right? In order to be a confident person, you have to shed some things, and which is you have to eliminate fear, you have to eliminate, your nervousness for the sake of professional career, right? And you can do this with practice. You may practice in front of mirror, you may practice amongst your, your amid your comfort zone with your siblings and your, like I said, with your friends, acquaintances. And this way practice makes progress, right? Everybody knows that practice makes progress. So progress can only happen when you practice. So if you practice a lot, there will be a fine day when you would be able to communicate better. And of course, you will be able to. And like I said, that communication, how important, the essence of communication is in today's time. So even at your workplaces, right? Because at workplaces, what are you required to do? If you are a leader, you have to, what do you do as a leader? You have to lead your team. You have to give them their job. You have to give them certain tasks to do, right? So you can only do that if you can communicate, right? So as a leader, you have to make sure that you are somebody who can communicate better with employees. The better you communicate, the better you are able to deal with your team members, the better you are able to get work done, the better you are able to motivate your team, the better you are able to, uh, handle the grievances that the people face, your team faces. So these are the, primary objectives of a good leader at a workplace. So one has to be a good communicator, right? Because, like I just mentioned, all right. So yeah, these are some things which are very important if I talk about, the important aspect of communication and communication skills. All right. Yeah, there was a network issue. So, like we say, the best managed companies are those, which has a very good flow of communication. Now, what do you mean by flow of communication? We all know that there is a hierarchy of command which is followed in organizations, isn't it? So, we see commands from the top management in the hierarchy, in the chain, or the scalar chain that we follow in organizations from the top level to the, if we come downwards to the subordinate level. So if the message from the top level is not clear, that means if the communication is not clear, either it's interrupted or it has, it's not that clear. So, the message might be manipulated as it comes downwards to the subordinate level, right? So the communication has to be absolutely clear in organizations in order to avoid any kind of manipulations or misinterpretations, which happen a lot in organizations. So it has to be taken care of. So one, if somebody is a good communicator, would be able to manage these things, and ultimately the flow of communication would be smooth. All right. So I hope you were able to understand this. All right. So, of course, one more thing which is important for you to understand is that better the communicator, the better the managing of emotions, the better he handles emotions actually. So if you're somebody who is working on your communication skills, you have to keep in mind that you have to balance and manage your emotions as well, right? So yeah, a better communicator is the one who can manage his or her emotions at the same time. If you're talking about and you know the flow of information in organization, right? So these are certain things which you have to actually keep in mind in context to communication. So I repeat once again, for those who have lately joined, that please start working on your communication skills, because communication skills, do not underestimate the importance of communication skills. Communication skills play a huge, huge role, an enormous role in shaping you up, right? In help you in managing the different cores that take place in organization, helps you maintain relationships better in organizations, and help you lead in the organization, help you stay ahead in the organization. If you're somebody who can communicate better, you can actually grab a lot of good opportunities, because organizations do hire people with good communication skills. So we must not underestimate the importance of communication. And yes, uh, we do require communication skills. One has to be good at expressing themselves. It's not just for people working in organizations, but generally also speaking, that people who are you know planning to who are looking up for opportunities to work at different firms or with different companies, they also have to work on their communication skills, because every organization actually thrives to flourish and succeed, right? So for that, they need human resources. They require assets who are good with managing and working with a team, right? One has to be good with, one has to have a good team balance when working in the organization. You must be someone who's able to actually work with the team for the same common project. So for that matter, again, you have to, have a good command over the language, right? In order to understand your team members better, in order to, maintain better relationship with your team members so that the work can happen smoothly, you must know the language. You must know how to communicate with each other. Only then can you be able to, work uh, in proper coordination, in proper synchronization with your teammates, with your fellow colleagues, right? So it's not just required for people who are appearing for jobs or who are giving interviews to the interviewers, but also generally, it's all about expressing yourself better. When you express yourself better, people like to listen to you. And when somebody listens to you, like I earlier mentioned, listening is again a crucial component, a very significant component of communication. So if you're somebody who is being heard, who people like to listen, so that makes the process of communication complete, because we always think of communication as something which is only about speaking. No, but it's not just speaking. It's also the other person has to listen to you, because only then will the message be complete, right? So if I just say something and you are not listening to me, that means the message is incomplete, the communication is incomplete, right? So but if I am speaking something, if I'm telling you something and you are genuinely listening to me, you are comprehending what I'm saying, that means the process of communication is complete, right? So in order to develop our skills, all we can do is we can practice. Like I said, practice makes progress. So let's learn to read more. Let's learn to, do something like, even we can watch movies for that, something which like offers you good quality content, maybe the documentaries or anything which um, can help us enhance our knowledge, at the same time help us enhance our communication skills, is good for that. So we can begin practicing these little things in order to ourselves, in order to groom ourselves, in order to develop ourselves into better individuals, having better communication skills, so that we can uh, rise in our career, and we can uh, get some edge for our communication skills, right? So that's it from my end. I think I've spoken enough. So this is all I had to share on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this very informative and demonstrative session. We will ask our participant to put your question in comment box. We will try to provide answer by Malika Tiwari ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.